So welcome everyone to another weekly market analysis. My name is Pedro, senior market analyst at Alphachain, and what we usually do in this session is to pay attention to the big catalysts of last week. What news moved market and how did the market reacted to those news, and of course focus on this week as well, right? What's going to be the main thing to look at that can affect the market, and how should we position ourselves in order to look for opportunities to take advantage of those movements in the market, right? Usually we cover from the major FX pairs, starting with the dollar index usually, then we go for the major indices, individual currency pairs, commodities, usually gold and oil, and then you finish with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So to welcome everyone, and I hope and I wish you guys have a great week ahead in the markets. So paying attention to last week, which was actually quite quiet, especially in the FX with the dollar. It was a really strange week since basically the movement that we had last Monday. The high and the low, it was basically the high and the top and the bottom for the week. The days after, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, dollar never managed to break either the highs or the lows. Neither euro dollar managed to do that, which is quite rare. To be honest, the price just stayed within the same range from the Monday range. On the indices, there was a little bit more of a move happening, maybe a little bit of a downtrend starting. Let's see if that's going to be the case. It's still a little bit at the top, but we're starting to show some weakness in the market, especially since we are in the middle of in the midst of the earnings season, right? Because in terms of the big data last week, there was nothing special going on regarding the US data. There was some other data coming out. So especially in the UK, there was unemployment, which was a little bit worse than expected in terms of the claimant count changes. As you can see, 28,000 when the market was expecting a minus 2.5. So that took the unemployment rate in the UK to 3.8%. And then another data that came out in the UK, which was quite negative. It was the CPI data, right? Market was expecting to finally go below the 2 digits in the inflation, which didn't occur. So we managed to remain, or inflation remained still above 10%, at 10.1%, which is a big concern in the UK, and let's see what with the Bank of England is going to do during the next meeting. Most likely another hike is expecting. As you can see in here, the interest rate in the UK at this point is 4.25. Last time, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 25 basis point hike. Most likely we are going to continue to see the same, because at this point, comparing the G7 countries, UK is literally the one with the highest inflation at this point, struggling to push and bring the inflation down in here. With, as you can see, the unemployment starting to slowly showing signs of increasing, inflation staying as it is, and even the GDP not exactly showing strength in there. That can be a concern for the economy in the UK in the near future. Aside from that, we had the final CPI in the Eurozone, 6.9%, as a little bit as expected. Core CPI at 5.7%. There you go. In here, we are managing to push it down, just like in the US. And that was basically it. Unemployment claims, of course, the big data that we pay attention to every week, because we are expecting the unemployment in the US to start to increase. And unemployment claims, which comes out every Thursday. It's a data point that we need to pay attention to. As you can see, the last 3 weeks, it has been higher than 200K, and it has been quite moving to the upside quite fast, right? So again, third week in a row, actually fourth week in a row, but it's just, yeah, in case it's actually fourth week in a row that is increasing, but the last 3 in particular case, and well above 200K, getting really close to 250K. And let's see how quick and fast these numbers are going to go to the upside. because that can be one of the biggest concerns and to pay attention to in terms of data points for the in the US, because this for sure is going to bring unemployment and the NFP data numbers much lower, which can then, of course, maybe push the concern and the fear in the market in there. So how quickly these numbers are going to come up, that's going to be something to pay attention to, because we are already expecting them to go up either way. And then we basically finished the week last Friday with the PMI data, manufacturing and services, and the signs are quite similar across the different countries, right? So we have manufacturing below 50, so showing contraction and even worse numbers than it was the previous month across even in the Eurozone, in the UK, and in the US. So basically all of them, it was 45 in here, it was 47 in the Eurozone, 45, it was 48 in the UK, it's 46.6, and it was no, actually manufacturing PMI, it was quite good in the US, it was above 50. Okay, this was a surprise, and it was actually a really good number to look at. However, as you know, the services is the one that actually has a better outperforming at this point, right? Services PMI has been the strongest, which is quite normal, and as expected in this specific in the Eurozone, in the UK, and in the US. So that's basically how the week finished in here with the PMI data coming out. And then aside from that, what we have or what we had during this week, it was the earnings season, right? So we had some other banks announcing the earnings season. Then the main focus was with Tesla. Tesla kind of disappointed a little bit, and we saw the big gap with -6%, if I'm not mistaken, on the opening the day after the earnings. And then I think there was another negative day after that. And we had the indices moving a little bit to the downside. Just to do a wrap up of the earnings so far, we have 87 companies already announcing their earnings in the US. In the S&P, they have reported 73% have beat the expectations, but the overall aggregate earnings have actually declined 1.6% this quarter. Right, the material sectors has seen the biggest drop in aggregate earnings, having 43%, with tech following it with declining 36% on average. Meanwhile, the industrials has reported the most growth with 47% earnings at this point. Right. So let's see what's going to happen this week with the big boys announcing their earnings. All right, so we have 170 in companies announcing their earnings this week, and we have 5 of the 10 biggest companies, including Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and Exxon. Right, Microsoft and Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, are going to be no, Microsoft and Alphabet is going to be Tuesday. Amazon, I think, is going to be Wednesday, and then Meta Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. No, Meta is going to be Wednesday, and then finishing on Friday with oil companies, the Exxon, in here announcing their earnings. So let's see how well and how strong these companies are. It has been a little bit revised already to the downside. So if the earnings are even worse than expected, that can kind of scare the market a little bit. Aside from that, of course, the focus has been a little bit on the regional banks also, because of all the crises that we had 1 month ago. So focus on that as well. For example, today we have the first Republica Bank announcing as well that its earnings going to be aftermarket. So we're going to be paying attention as well, because that can affect a little bit the indices and the way the indices have been behaving. And if you actually have paid attention to behavior last week, on the indices, we have seen that some of the sell-offs on the S&P and Nasdaq, they have actually occurred in the last couple of hours of the session. So maybe around or after 7 p.m., 8 p.m. UK time. That's basically when we had some big sell-offs happening, some big drops are happening, especially I think it was Wednesday and then Thursday as well. So you can see, you can actually look at the timing, and maybe you can even identify some patterns in there that you can take advantage of. Looking ahead for this week in terms of the news, main focus, of course, is going to be on Friday, when they have the core PCE and the employment cost index. So that's basically the inflation data that the Fed likes the most, and also the growth in the wages as well. So at this point, what we are expecting in terms of the core CPI is 0.3% growth on a monthly basis, taking it to 4.5% on a year-to-year growth, right? So comparing with the previous month, which is actually 4.6, so a decrease of 0.1%. That's kind of what we're expecting in the core PCE, which is going to be the last data, the last big data that's coming out before the next Fed meeting, which is going to be basically in 10 days time, right? Or 9 days time, on the 3rd of May. And as you know, at this point, it's 85%. The odds are that we're going to have another 25 basis point hike, taking the rates from 5 to 5.25. That's almost guaranteed. Of course, then what you want to pay attention to is what the commentary is going to be, what's going to be the approach from the Fed Chair Powell in terms of is he looking for another hike after that? Is going to be a pause. Basically, the market is the prediction is that this is the last hike and this is the peak at this point. As you can see, for the next meeting then in June, basically 60% is expecting the rates to stay as they are, right? As they will be at 5.25%, and then to remain again like that still in July. And this is where it starts to be a little bit different comparing with what the market was predicting maybe a couple of weeks ago, when the market was actually already looking for a reduction in the interest rates, especially like around maybe July to September, already expecting one rate cut. And there you go. There's maybe in here 50-50, 38% to 38% as well, between if you are going to still remain at 5.25 or at 5, or we're going to have our first rate cut happening in here. And then yes, then the market is basically almost guaranteed on looking to be at least at 5%, and then kind of in December another rate cut. So almost as a guarantee that at least in November and December we're going to have 2 rate cuts. Question mark is it's going to start maybe before that or not. And this is what the market is expecting, not exactly what the Fed is mentioning it. And that's where I'm going to try to pay attention to on the commentary after on the 3rd of May during the Fed meeting, if we are indeed expecting the Fed to start reducing the interest rates still this year or not, or for how long is going to be the peak in there. So that's the most important data point that you're going to look at this week, core PCE on Friday, paying attention to it. We're also going to, in terms of the US, you have the advanced GDP for Q1. That's going to be announced on Thursday, expecting 2%. The last quarter of last year, it was at 2.6. It was actually revised to the downside. Not mistaken, it was 2.9%, and it was revised to 2.6%. So yeah, Q1 at 2%. And employment claims, of course, another big important data every Thursday, as you know. This then is going to take even more importance for the week after, most likely when you have the NFP on the first week of May. So that's basically for the US. Aside from that, we have the first monetary policy meeting in Japan with the new governor Uedes, right? So paying attention to this one. At this point, we actually did a press conference early this month where it basically announced that is not expecting to make any changes, especially in the yield curve control that we have, that Japan have on these bonds at 0.5%, expecting to remain the same. So there's not exactly anything new to be expected in this meeting based on what he said a few weeks ago in that press conference. Nevertheless, it's going to be his first monetary policy meeting. So let's see if everything's going to remain the same, and when are we expecting to occur any changes in the yield curve control of these 50 basis points in there. What else do we have? We have also CPI in Australia. This is going to be Wednesday, something to pay attention to as well. At this point, CPI at 7.8%, expecting to move down to 6.8, expecting to be at 6.6%. So let's see if you're going to continue to have a little bit of a reduction in the CPI. Don't forget that Australia, just like Canada, have been the ones that already stopped with the hikes, right? So they kind of, this point, they paused the hikes at the 3.6% in Australia. So as long as they continue to see this number continue to move down, maybe there's no need to go back to hike again. So keeping an eye on that one can be interesting. We have consumer confidence tomorrow in the US as well. And that's basically it in terms of the big news that we are going to be paying attention this week. Of course, also just something, one last thing is to pay attention to China as well. China industrial profits is going to be on the watch as well this week to see if it's going to continue to show some growth in the China economy after a really slow year last year, due especially to the zero policy COVID restrictions that China was implementing. So, and if we start noticing though that growth in the Chinese economy, most likely you can follow with the strong commodities. Iron ore, copper prices can be one of those that can go higher as well. So currencies as well related to commodities like Aussie or eventually even Canada CAD can be quite interesting if they benefit from that growth as well. So looking at the market at this point, and we are having a little bit more of a move this morning, more than almost what we had last week. So as we mentioned before, basically dollar index just remain within this range during a week. And finally today we are managing to break to one of the sides, and in this case is break to the downside in here, right? So looking a little bit more in the bigger picture, we are literally seeing that we are a little bit on this in this bearish market. We slightly managed to break that low. However, we actually still kind of trading around this good and strong important zone. So let's see if this move down is going to continue, and if the dollar by any chance is trying to attempt to retest these lows, or if it's going to find a little bit of a support somewhere in alignment with this and kind of push price to the upside. Kind of spend a lot of time in here, so maybe can even go maybe a little bit lower. We kind of managed to take a little bit this size, but we never really managed to take the full structure, which was this one. After we managed kind of to break that one, that's basically the full structure is composed still with this high, but that's still part of it. So yeah, it's not exactly the clearest break to the upside. So there's a little bit maybe of a potential continuation actually to move down. However, there's maybe 2 or 3 levels that you can maybe look at for the dollar to see if there's any kind of reaction. A little bit in here could be one of them, and then of course retesting a little bit of this level to see if by any chance there's dollar being held in there and pushing the price higher. Yeah, so looking at the indices at this point, and this is what we had, right? So we have S&P moving a little bit higher initially, and then managing to take this high, at least in this survey, managed to take February highs, and after that we had the turn. Right, it was actually a good sell opportunity in here. One of our guys managed actually to catch a sell in there, and after that, price just continued to move lower as we are continue to break some levels, expecting price to continue to go down as it break new lows, and price eventually continue to move down, maybe targeting eventually somewhere in here at this level as a potential target for this sell opportunity. And what I mentioned before is exactly around this time, like in the evening, that's kind of when you had some sell-offs occurring in here, right? At around 7, 8 p.m. around, again, same thing around 7, 8 p.m. Again, due to mostly close to some companies announcing their earnings after the closing, and maybe the market anticipating a time, trying to predict what the results would be. And there you go. Again, the bigger picture eventually hasn't really changed for me. It's interesting now to see at least some weakness in here. Maybe the sellers gaining a little bit of control, or the buyers losing a little bit of momentum. But I'm still literally open to the possibility of price eventually getting a little bit closer to these highs in here since August last year. There you go. Let's see if price even managed to come here to reach a little bit this level, maybe show a little bit even more weakness before maybe making a final move higher to go there, or it can even kind of do something like this could also happen. So keeping an eye on how the indices are going to behave. There's maybe still opportunities to try to look for a sell still around these highs, inside these highs, or eventually can even go a little bit higher, with the potential still to go a little bit lower in here on the S&P. And we have Nasdaq doing a little bit of the same. It was a beautiful move in here. Again, some of our guys, or at least one of them, managed to catch a really nice short in here as well. So we had all this structure in here. That one was still fresh, and there you go. Nice short opportunity, again close to the in the afternoon or even in the evening, as I mentioned, similar to S&P, the timing of the sell-offs occurring in here. And there you go. As soon as you break this one, kind of next target, next level, and finally price reached this demand zone in here, right? So kind of target reach from this sell opportunity for now. We actually already managed to break a little bit in here, so there's some chance that price may still even wants to continue to move down towards this level. So there's still that opportunity, but so far to play it a little bit safer, this was the target. This is kind of the last demand zone that made all this move upwards. That has been reached. If by any chance, if you do break below this one more time, then we may open this price to go there. Price can even retrace first before making that. But as long as now this level kind of keeps holding, maybe we can go a little bit higher. Similar to the S&P, there's still maybe a chance for price to go a little bit higher if it wants to kind of towards that level before maybe moving down. We'll see. We are starting to see a little bit of a range in here. It's maybe a little bit of a phase of distribution. We'll see if by any chance the indices are going to resume to move down, or if it's going to manage to break this high in here from August. Yeah, the weakness is starting to appear. So let's see what's going to happen in there this week. And then of course we have DAX as well. DAX has been kind of moving to the downside quite nicely. At the same time, continue to go higher. Right, it's kind of in this compression. Again, this week there was a really nice attempt to look for a short, with target being this zone in here, this demand level. Since this was respected, now maybe expecting new highs, maybe can be, but the short from here, yeah, target in there, that was nice. DAX, which is approaching this double top in here, kind of these all-time highs in there. So as you get closer to this level, maybe there's going to be more sell pressure in here, but eventually if you do get really close to those levels, we may actually even create new all-time highs, maybe for a turn in there. So it's another one to keep an eye on. Price has been kind of moving in this really nice kind of compression way. This was literally a fresh demand that was still there. Now it's taken. So kind of next level, maybe a little bit in here. Let's see if price is not going to just continue to move slightly higher in there. And since we are in this kind of movement, usually if you're looking for short or if you're looking for longs, most likely you can find those opportunities, because price is actually providing you with good opportunities like this. It's not just trending in one direction or the other. It's actually moving a little bit in a range or up and down, with eventually at this point slowly breaking your highs along the way. So that's also for the DAX. And then we have the Dow, which has been moving higher as well after kind of completing that move that we talked about for the last few months. Now it's moving higher and it's getting closer to these highs as well. Nice move as well during this week. We have a little bit of this zone in here that is kind of managing to hold price. If you break below this level, maybe then you can attempt to this one, and eventually maybe you can even attempt lower than that. But as long as kind of this one keeps holding, maybe going to have a little bit more of a move upwards. Now, is price going to stop in here? Is price going a little bit higher than that? Maybe even taking this high altogether and getting a little bit closer to this zone. So let's see what the DAX is going to, what the Dow is going to do. I'll keep an eye on it as well, and to see maybe the sell-off is still not going to be this week. Maybe it's going to be then the week afterwards, closer to the next FOMC meeting. Yeah, maybe it's going to be around there, right? It's going to be a busy week next week, not this week, but the next one with the FOMC, I think ECB as well, and then NFP on Friday. So yeah, beginning of May is going to be quite busy. And that's basically it in terms of the indices. So something that we also paid attention to is, of course, the Euro index, which has been on the rise, right? So this mornings in particular, we are seeing all the Euro pairs moving quite strongly. And there you go. So if you guys remember, we had that key level that you're looking for initially, that actually price managed to hold it for a moment to somewhere in here. But then I mentioned, if by any chance we are breaking above this level, which eventually started to look like that we're about to do that, because price was not really managing to create any momentum to the downside. Quite the opposite, it was actually creating momentum upwards. So if you do actually were about to break above this level, then basically everything in here, it's almost compressed, and I'm starting to aim towards to the next level. And as you can see, it's so compressed that basically Euro is just breaking and not looking back, right? Just literally a strong bullish momentum in here. And let's see now eventually if it's going to get closer a little bit to this level, 1041 or something like that. So that's kind of what I will be looking next. Of course, paying attention to the extreme in here of this compression, and then maybe price can feel this price in here, and then maybe drop a little bit in there. So let's see if that's going to happen. Which we also have a little bit of this previous level support resistance. That one is way higher. This one's already taken by that one, basically. Yeah, maybe taking that one, getting a little bit closer to this level can be interesting. So there you go. Euro on the rise, moving to the upside, right? Not looking backwards, just keep looking and moving higher. Eventually, when you have, even if the opportunity from that level, even if it's just retesting this previous zone in here, maybe there's enough opportunity in there of a space to have a trade to look for. If you then kind of start now breaking below that level, that's kind of then eventually can be interesting, right? So this is kind of a little bit of the new zone that has been created. Price eventually is going to retrace again towards this level, and then question mark is, are you going to respect it and start moving upwards again? Are you going to start showing a little bit of weakness and break below that level? If you do that, then maybe we enter into this new level in here, maybe we can target those lows. Price can maybe do something like this. So paying attention now to this level in here, that it was just created today with a break to the upside. All right, so something to pay attention to on the Euro. index. And then we have the yen, right? The yen, which was one of the best opportunities last week, with price reaching this important kind of demand zone. We had this strong compression and trend line. We broke above it, and there you go. We feel the spice. This was the compression. That was the spice to look for. We still had this supply level that was fresh in here, and that was it. That was the target. By any chance you're looking for any longs from here, that would have been your target in here. If you do break above this level, maybe then there's a chance eventually for price to go a little bit higher. Maybe try to feel all this compression all the way composed with this trend line that you can see. But this one in here, it was the first barrier. So at this point, you shouldn't really expect anything else above that so far. There you go. Price respected it. Now, is this level still going to be respected in here? Maybe price can even go a little bit lower, maybe respect something in here and then resume the move to the upside. That's something to look for. If you want to try to aim to another long on the end in here, which can of to look like a short on the euro yen, pound yen, and so on. It's something that maybe you can try to do if you do find a trigger in there. Otherwise, maybe the yen is going to just continue to move down and eventually maybe getting closer to this loss. Again, monetary policy meeting later on this week on the yen, that can be a good catalyst to see what's going to happen in here. Looking at the individual currency pairs. We have the euro, right? It's quite similar to the dollar, as I mentioned, that it was literally ranging full week around here, and it finally managed to break above it, right? And just similar to the dollar, there's maybe still a chance for price to find a little bit of resistance around this level, or then going even a little bit closer to the highs. Particularly, I see a little bit this low as a potential engulf down. However, when I see an engulf down, I don't really like to see price respecting the origin of that break, which is this level in here. I would much rather not see this low being created in here to give more confidence that actually price wants to go down. If I start seeing this level being respected, and then again another demand being respected, and another demand being respected, and another demand being respected, basically every single one of them are being respected, and at the same time price is kind of slowly breaking new highs. We do not really manage to break this structure, but it was managing to break new highs, right? Eventually the expectation that you should have is literally to see and price breaking highs, because we are slowly creating higher highs and higher lows. And there you go. Price breaks upwards, and let's see what's going to happen around this level and eventually around here. Now, looking at the bigger picture, I actually would like still to see the euro dollar to go a little bit higher. So if by any chance price just continues to move higher, I wouldn't be that surprised either. And maybe this target in here, that's going to be just for the future eventually when euro finally have a proper break to the downside, maybe a little bit in alignment with whatever euro index is reacting to in that moment. But still concerned about this level. This can still maybe hold price and keep price to the downside. Let's see what kind of approach you're going to have in there. Actually, price is starting to approach the first barrier, and then kind of the last one is literally close to the highs. But yes, bigger picture, eventually, I would still like to see euro going a little bit higher before maybe, for example, making all this occurring in there. So that's a little bit for the euro. We have pound. Pound respected the target, so that has been reached in there. Again, respected a little bit more. And let's see, we have a little bit of this range being created. Let's see if pound is going to manage to go a little bit higher, a little bit closer to that level or not, or are going to keep respecting a little bit of these levels in here. So pound, different to the euro, pound actually reached this low from the 10th of April. Euro just created this low, never really reached and feel the spice in there. Pound has done that. So let's see what the pound is going to do at around this level. Which direction is it going to break or not? And if we're going to then eventually aim to reach closer to that low. this level in here, maybe there was still some orders in there. Eventually, I prefer to see price getting a little bit closer to this level. Eventually, for potential short in there, we'll see what's going to happen on the pound. And then you have euro pound, right? Euro pound just on the rise as well. Kind of created a little bit of this resistance zone. Price kind of has respected that level. We can get a little bit more of a bigger picture. This can give a little bit more of a bigger overview. And yes, eventually I think price is in a good way from these lows. I think maybe it can get closer to that high. Respected quite nicely this low again. I think we maybe get actually. I think we are on the way to eventually get there. We created a little bit of this resistance, already kind of a triple top in there. Let's see if it holds a little bit more, but then eventually we may have continuation to the upside on the euro pound. Let's see. Sometimes it likes to range a little bit, so by any chance, if you want to look for shorts in here, you can try to do that. Really nice reaction from this level. Yeah, why not just continue to go higher and aiming to go closer to that high in there. Yeah. Then you have Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar has been an interesting one as well, quite in the range. It's been kind of the weakest comparing with the other dollar currency pairs. For example, euro, pound, and so on kind of moved quite strongly, kind of almost retesting this high, if not even taking this high. And Aussie never really moved that much. It's stuck in between this range in here. Let's see which direction is going to go. Yeah, that's reacting a little bit from this level. I think maybe the tendency can be a little bit to go further down before maybe going higher. A bigger picture, we actually managed to break a little bit of this structure in here. This was a nice zone where price reacted to 1 week ago. Let's see, we're in the middle of the range. Bigger picture, expecting price to go down, but price can actually go higher first before going down, maybe close to this level. So yeah, maybe you can find short opportunities in there if you want to, or even long if you get closer a bit to these lows in here. It's not the clearest at this point. Aussie dollar, maybe even it's easier, maybe it's even clear more euro Aussie, which again moved down. We have taken that high on the left side in here. Where are we? Yeah, we had taken these highs in there, and then price just went all the way down to respect the fresh demand zone that it was in here, and now resuming the move higher. Right? What's the destination for this rally on the euro Aussie? Maybe getting closer a little bit to this level of structure can be one scenario. Again, can be something like this. Now we're testing this level in here. Can be something. Eventually, maybe price even wants to go higher and take this high out together. So yeah, continuation of a bullish momentum on the euro Aussie. That doesn't mean that price is not going to have some retracements as it's happened in these last few weeks. So yeah, try to find out somewhere in here where maybe there are some fresh orders. We have these left shoulders in here. Maybe you can find some opportunities to sell. And then, of course, where are you going to look for a continuation? Again, pay attention also to this kind of compressions that price starts to create along the way. And eventually, you can have a little bit of a turn. And then where is going to be the continuation? That's also something to look for in there. So, yeah, it has been kind of being maybe a better trade, a better pair to trade than the Aussie dollar, for example. And then you have the yen pairs, right? The yen pairs that we saw a little bit of strength on the yen, kind of a little bit of a move down on the dollar yen, euro yen, Aussie yen, the last 2 days of the week. Personally, I think euro yen or dollar yen in this case still wants to go a little bit higher. So we're aiming for price to get closer to this highs. Last week, price did that. However, I'm actually looking for price to even break these highs, maybe getting a little bit higher, maybe for making a move to the downside. Let's see. Nevertheless, there's maybe still some orders in here. Price actually managed to break below this low. Maybe that can be a sign for the future that it wants to go down. Further down, question mark is there: is it going to be from this size, or are you going to actually fake out this size and then make that MAC move? There's a potential to even go and be from underneath this size. So just keeping an eye on the dollar yen as well for a potential sell opportunity in there. But at the same time, there's potential to go higher. And now we have euro yen, right? Again, move down, kind of retested again one of the last demand zones that was in here. So target has been reached. After that, move higher. And similar to the other euro pairs, we are just in this strong move upwards, and we are really getting closer to this high back in October, right? It has been maybe the strongest yen pair, this euro yen, almost about to getting really close to the highs back in October. Yeah, this is when we saw a little bit of a weakness on the yen after the intervention from the Bank of Japan, and after that, the next high or the next level is back in 2014, right? So again, you're approaching this level. You can investigate in there in over time frame, see what kind of orders there are in there. Apparently, I had this rectangle. Basically, the price just got really close to it, and we are seeing that rejection, right? Next level, of course, you have this previous support resistance. Let's see how price is going to behave from here. It's going to just continue. I'll start see eventually to start to show a little bit of a weakness in here. And we also have this. This can be actually a nice accumulation, a nice trap in here with all these highs. Let's see what's going to happen in here on the euro yen. This is just a continuation to the upside. If eventually take those highs, or if this is kind of a little bit of a move down to start from here. It's going to be interesting. Pound yen moving to the upside as well. Yep, let's see what's going to happen. As you can see, pound yen is kind of lagging a little bit with euro yen. Euro yen is already kind of reacting really close to this highs. Again, back in October, while pound yen is still kind of a little bit lagging. So if by any chance pound yen wants to follow euro yen, it would eventually get there, which we may go to. Actually, I'm looking for price to eventually take this size before any major turn to the downside. So that's something maybe that's going to happen. And nevertheless, there's still maybe trading opportunities underneath that level, even from here, maybe to look for. So let's see what's going to happen on the pound yen in here. But nice compression, price starting to show a little bit of weakness. And of course, you can look at the yen index as a source of reference as well to make decisions and predict what's going to happen in there. Another one that you're looking for, it was the CAD that you mentioned last week, that there was a high probability that this level could push price to the upside, especially the way it behaved during the news 1 week ago. And there you go. We moved all the way to the upside. We managed to break this highs. We managed to create a little bit of a new high. What is the next level? Maybe price can go towards that zone somewhere in there before maybe having a reversal. Nevertheless, of course, price eventually is not going to just move in a straight line. It's going to have a little bit of ups and downs, and this can be actually a good level to look for that, which already occurred this morning. Initial target maybe this in here. Let's see, price can get a little bit closer to that level, then go higher, and then maybe starting to show a little bit more of a compression move, which is kind of what we have at this point. Can maybe track from this trend line all the way. That's basically where price kind of is reacting right now. So yes, keep following CAD, which might have a really good selling opportunity in the next few days. Maybe when the price gets in here, maybe we can have a big sale in there in the bigger picture. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow this week as well. Then we have dollar franc Swiss, which is all the way retesting these lows again. We managed to break this highs. Yes, you mentioned last week as well. Nice reaction to the upside. Normal zone to go and retest is a little bit of where it was where it was the previous zone of structure, which it was somewhere in there. It didn't really touch it. It paused a little bit underneath that, So there's maybe more room to go a little bit higher, even then eventually to go towards that level. Therefore, maybe if you do find some good opportunities in here to get long, maybe you can. And if it goes in alignment with maybe a little bit of strength on the dollar, that can help maybe dollar franc Swiss to go higher as well. Something to keep an eye on. We are literally approaching these lows in here, all the way back from December 2020. So yeah, we may have maybe another low and then maybe the reversal. We can almost draw also this strong trend line in here, which eventually you may even have a big retracement in there. So yeah, for now we kind of got a little bit shy to that level. So eventually you may have actually a deeper retracement on dollar franc Swiss, which has been super bearish for quite a while. So yes, but retesting this level in here, maybe we can find some opportunities to go long, even just a retest of this level. Maybe that can be an interesting opportunity. Price is literally at this point moving to the upside in there. Yeah, interesting to see what's going to happen here, or if we're going to have another break of a low, and maybe after that you may have a strong move up. Yeah, so after that, what we have gold. Gold has been moving to the downside since also the 14th of April. It got above the 2,000 mark. At this point, is below it, 1,983. I'm looking for gold to go slightly lower, a little bit close to this level before maybe resuming the move upwards. I think this level in here can be quite important. This level, this kind of demand zone in alignment to this level of support resistance in here with this high. If this level kind of holds, maybe price then can resume the move upwards and getting closer to this double top that you have, the all-time highs in there. If you do break below this level, we may open doors to go a little bit lower, if not even eventually much further down on gold. We are holding this mid-level of structure. Eventually, I wouldn't even be surprised if price, for example, a good maybe trading setup could have been price which actually go down, takes this low, and then kind of resumes the move to the upside, and eventually takes this highs, getting a little bit closer to this level before then maybe resuming the move down, and they're kind of feeling that level, or eventually kind of going all the way down in here, like targeting these highs, looking for a sell opportunity in there. Could be something to look for. It will be even better if you first actually take this level of structure in here. All right, so something to look for on gold. It's been kind of a little bit ranging in here. So let's see what kind of opportunities we are going to have on gold. On the other hand, if you do have some kind of good opportunity in here to just look for the continuation to the upside, maybe can look for that long opportunity in here on gold. Then we have also oil, right? Oil has been kind of on the radar as well since I had that gap 3 weeks ago, and we're almost close to fill the gap, right? Price moved to the downside. Last week, it finally managed to break below this level of support, and we are getting closer to closing this gap of 75 and 70. And price literally just created a double bottom in here, just above it. So eventually kind of start attracting even more people to buy it in here. And that can be actually a good setup to just fake out this level and close the gap. And then let's see what's going to happen. Are we going to resume the move upwards, or are we going to kind of show a little bit more weakness and move down? In here, we also have a little bit of these levels of previous level of support resistance all the way that can go to the right side. So let's see, even eventually if you get closer to this level, maybe there's another sell opportunity in here. So it's going to be interesting. And one thing that you notice is, of course, we did manage to break these highs above 83.3 and went a little bit higher than that, right? So is this going to open doors for oil eventually to continue to move higher, maybe getting closer to 85 mark, or eventually even close to $90? Maybe, but yes, I'll be waiting for first maybe price to close this gap that it is in here. And after that, then we are maybe reassess and try to find maybe opportunities to resume the move upward. Yeah, so I would definitely stay patient and waiting for that, or even if price gets closer to this level, maybe there's a sell opportunity in there, or even in here, that price never really reached it, and so maybe there's a sell opportunity also in there. And then just to finalize it, we pay attention to crypto, right? So there's been on the move to the downside, also since the 14th of April, similar to where we had the low on the dollar, the highs on the euro, the highs on the gold, and so on. Apparently, it was also the high on crypto. It is actually reacting from a really good level on the left side when we kind of broke above the 31,000 mark for the first time since last summer. And we just resumed the move down, right? We had a little bit of a move during the weekend, kind of price could test it now these previous levels of structure, and maybe can have a little bit more of a move down. I kind of am looking for price to have a little bit of a reaction underneath this level. Otherwise, we may just actually feel finally this price to get closer to this 25,000 mark with this previous level of support resistance. It's a zone that we have been looking for as well. Maybe here can be enough to push price up again, but let's see. First, we need to break below these lows, and somewhere in here, there's maybe still opportunities to look for long in there. But for now, a nice reaction from there. So let's see. We are within this range, and yeah, if we do break eventually above this level, maybe BTC is ready to maybe fill all this price and getting closer again to the 29 mark, or even eventually going all the way really close to 30K again. So if you do break above this high once again, maybe that can open the doors for that. Something to pay attention to if you are looking for longs. Otherwise, you may even continue to move a little bit lower. And we have Ethereum to complete the move again. Really strong move to the downside, retesting a little bit its low. I think maybe have a little bit more room to downside on Ethereum maybe before we resume the move upwards. I think we could go a little bit lower maybe before we go higher. I see a little bit more of a room to downside on Ethereum than BTC maybe for now, before maybe resuming. We'll see what's going to happen, right? We had out this high, this kind of basically the extreme of the extreme from this move down, and price kind of respected that extreme in here. Never really managed to break this high. It respected it. There you go. Let's see what kind of week we are going to have in crypto. Yes, how like maybe I'll consider maybe looking for some longs if price get closer to this level. Shorts, I'm not really sure. Maybe in here can be a barrier to look for. Yeah, we'll see. Doesn't really like anything in here, to be honest. Yeah, I'll just look for eventually Ethereum to get there. Yeah, that's basically it, guys. Basically, went across the different assets that usually you look for. Question marks, things to look at are the indices going to continue to create new lows, or going to test the highs and maybe getting closer to those highs from August. That's something to look at. Pay attention to the earnings that can help as well. Of course, GDP on Thursday and PCE then on Friday can be good catalyst as well to look for it. Yen pairs, is it going to continue to go higher? Yes or no? And then the dollar, right? Is the dollar going to resume the move down, create new lows, or is going to hold the lows and kind of push the dollar to the upside again? And what kind of impact will that have to the other assets that we look at, right? So it's just some things to pay attention to this week. I hope you guys have a killer week this week. So I'll see you guys next Monday for another weekly market reviews. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.